Good morning, Kansas City. How's everybody doing this morning? Woo! Okay, thank you for being here. My name is Courtney. Along with Brian, we are community organizers from Kansas City. Milton and Lance are actually in the Kauffman Labs. Kansas City is hosting the first inaugural Gigabit City Summit this week, and so we are actually having both of our presenters present in each room today, so we're kind of doing a little switch back and forth. So we'd like to welcome them to Kansas City. I would like to tell you guys a little bit about our program today. We have a weekly entrepreneurial program that two presenters get up and present for 6 minutes, and then we open up the Q&A portion of our program to the expert panel and then to the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will come around with a microphone. So expert panel, would you like to introduce yourselves today? Not on.
There we go. Good morning. My name is Kevin McGinnis, Vice President at Sprint, currently CEO of Pinsight Media and founder of the Sprint Accelerator.
I'm Alex Altamari. I am the president of the Lean Lab nonprofit for education, innovation, and reform.
My name is Mike Farmer. I'm the CEO and founder of visual search engine company here, Leap.it.
Thank you. I also would like to give a shout out to two other people hosting our 1 Million Cups decaf model. They're being hosted at the Smithville Library today and at Blue Valley Caps, so we want to thank them for watching it on the live stream. So thank you. Also, actually, I guess that's it for announcements. So we will start out with our first presenter. I would like to welcome Jonathan Wagner with Big Bang.
All right, good morning, Kansas City. All right, that's a little better. I'm Jonathan Wagner. I'm the founder and CEO of Big Bang. Just out of curiosity, of a show of hands, how many folks are over here from the Gigabit City Summit? Maybe snuck over here. All right, excellent. We've got a couple people here. Thank you. Welcome to Kansas City. So I have a couple things in the presentation just for you folks. Anyway, I'm Jonathan Wagner. My co-founder Jason's unable to be here today, but he sends his best regards. I don't have a great deal of time, so I'm going to skip with trying to tell you about what a great team we are, but let me go ahead. We'll just pretend that we all agree that we have a great team here at Big Bang. I'd like to start off with a big number, 6,809,972,000. And as the founder of a startup company, I'd like to tell you that this is my revenue, but it's not. Does anybody out here have any guess what this number might be? Any ideas? Device, oh, you're getting ahead of me, that's close. This is actually the world population in 2009. And you might be saying to yourself, Jonathan, why are we talking about 2009? It's 2015 now. The reason is because this is the year that the number of connected devices exceeded the number of people on the planet. So in 2009, the devices were winning. Right? The computers are winning. And this is sort of why you've been hearing about the Internet of Things. The things there's more things than there are us. So if we fast forward to today, there are 8.5 billion connected devices. And in just 5 years, that number is going to be over 200 billion devices. And this is a huge, huge problem because we already don't have enough software developers to connect the devices that we have. So what are we going to do for the next 200 billion devices? And they're not just going to be more smartphones. They're not just going to be more tablets. They're going to be your car. These devices, it's going to be your house. It's going to be your schools. And it's going to be your entire city. And so for the folks that are here for the Gigabit City Summit, I think that they're clued into the idea that the world is going to be connected. And Big Bang is a platform, a software platform, that makes it simple and reliable and cost-effective to connect the world's devices in real time. So let's talk about some of the problems with that. The ecosystem is no longer homogeneous. Just a few years ago, we might have had a few platforms to worry about, but now we have dozens and dozens of platforms. We don't just have mobile devices and web devices. You have drones and your robots and your smart toasters, and the pizza that shows up is going to have a sensor in it. So what are we going to do about all of those disparate devices? How can we get them all talking together? In the same vein, handling the next 200 billion devices is a huge problem. 90% of the software development market currently is custom software. So this means that we're creating things from scratch every time. This takes more software developers, and it takes more experienced software developers, higher skilled software developers. And in addition to that, speed is crucial in getting your applications to market. You don't really hear about many people that were the fourth or fifth or sixth person to come up with this great application and rush out there. So we know all these things are true, and we have these problems now with the 8.5 billion connected devices we have. How do we solve this for the next 200 billion devices? So Big Bang, it solves a lot of these problems, but these are the ones I'd like to tell you about. We provide software development kits for every platform and every device. So if you have mobile applications, we can help you out. If you have a web-based application, if you are connecting sensors to a network, we can help you out. If you are looking at cyber-physical systems, we have a software development kit for you. A big part of our solution is that we provide infrastructure. So you don't have to worry about maintaining servers, maintaining your own infrastructure. It does no good if you can create an application in a few hundred lines of code or a few seconds if you can't deploy it reliably and quickly. So we provide you always-on infrastructure that allows you to scale to thousands and thousands of connected devices and create rich real-time applications. And finally, we have built-in end-to-end security. Lots of times security can sort of be an afterthought. It's very difficult to sort of get the application running initially, and we basically make it very simple for you to not have to worry about that. Let's talk about gigabit city applications for a second, since that's the summit today. One of the two ways I like to think about gigabit applications is that latency can now be measured in milliseconds, not seconds. I think that's very, very intuitive for most people. They can understand the fact that we can get information more quickly. Another really interesting aspect of that, though, is that we can have high-resolution sampling. And this is really crucial for applications that involve lots and lots of data from sensors. Let me illustrate this by going back in time again for you. This is a satellite photograph actually from 2003. I don't know if you see anything unusual about this picture, but if you take a look, I'll highlight it for you. If you look up in the corner here, you'll notice that there's no lights up in the Northwest right here. Well, this was the great power disruption in the Northwest in 2003, actually, and this caused over 50 million people to lose power for several days, I believe. And while this was a software glitch, one of the key findings here was that the current systems that they were using to monitor the power grid, the SCADA systems, sampled maybe once or twice every 10 seconds. And that one of the huge improvements they made were to start sampling these systems 30 or 60 or 120 times a second. So I encourage you to think about what types of applications you can create for your city, for water, for power, for infrastructure, for traffic, and think about how you can fill in those gaps with richer real-time data. And then, of course, come talk to me about it afterwards. Finally, one other thing I'd like to talk about is the Gigabots. This is a project that we did in cooperation with Mozilla and the Mozilla Gigabit Community Fund. They made this possible. And this is kind of a small version of what I've been talking about so far. The Gigabots are real-time connected devices. They were based on a very popular educational robotics platform called LEGO Mindstorms EV3s. We put them on the Big Bang platform and made it so that kids can program these devices from any connected device. It could be a tablet, it could be a web browser, and they get to experiment with real-time cyber-physical systems today. These robots were deployed this summer into a couple of pilot programs in Kansas City schools. And in addition to that, they were used by hundreds and hundreds of students actually throughout the nation in activities like Mozilla Hive learning programs, and also maker fairs. So this is the project we did with them. The robots are really fun. They're a little bit shy, so I didn't bring them up on stage today, but if you'd like to check them out, I've got them over here with me, so you can come check those out later. But anyway, this is a real-time connected robotics platform that runs on top of Big Bang. I guess the other thing I'll tell you is that it works today. You can go sign up. We started our open beta in October. We've had lots and lots of interest from software developers. We have lots of interesting applications on board for this coming year, especially as it relates to the city and some of the connected events here. So I think I'm done and open for any questions you've got. Thank you.
So question, so first of all, interesting presentation, and really like the way you're thinking about the problem big. You're thinking about tackling a very big issue, and you're thinking about, it seems like you're thinking about doing it in a very big way. You let off the presentation talking about the number of solutions that are out there to solve this problem, that there are more and more, that there's more and more platforms out there.
Yes.
What I didn't hear from you was what differentiates you from them. Are you just going after a piece of the market share because there's not enough developers, which was one of the problems I heard you addressing, or
right.
is there some reason that someone would buy your solution versus one of the 20 other solutions that you mentioned might be in the market?
What a fantastic question. No, what I would say is that what differentiates us from other solutions is that our focus is on real-time applications and on low latency applications. So I think that differentiates us from a lot of solutions that are geared for, let's say, generic HTTP or web-based solutions. So our focus is on real-time applications. The other thing that I would say is that what we provide with our SDKs and our APIs is a common set of functionality that works across a variety of devices. This is something that really is only possible now. It wasn't possible 5 years ago to give this type of experience. And let me use some of my background as an example. My previous company, which was acquired, we created middleware for creating virtual worlds, real-time games, MMOs, and it wasn't possible to really create that type of real-time collaborative experience across a variety of devices because there were certain web standards that didn't exist then. We've come to the point now where you can have those types of applications working in a browser on a mobile device, or on a mobile application talking to a desktop application. And I see Big Bang as technology that brings that type of immediacy and real-time, low latency data to any type of application. So moving from the gaming space to all types of applications. So that's why I would see that somebody would use Big Bang or would pick us versus writing their own system or using some other option.
You mentioned early on that there was a lack of developers, and then you went on to say that you were working with schools in the area to build, it was the Lego robots.
Yes.
Can you talk more about your decision to invest time and resources in education,
Sure.
especially with children, and how that's helped Big Bang?
Sure. I think that investments in education and technology are extremely important. We've been working not only with some schools, but we're working with also with the Northland CAPS, and at Big Bang has also been, we've been mentoring some of those students. And for entrepreneurs here in the city, we need more software developers. To become a tech hub, we're going to need these students that are high school students now and that are junior high students now. In just a few years, we're going to have jobs and we're going to need their skills. And so to get them started early, to get excited about something like this, and to be given the opportunity to say, I could actually do this, I think is amazing. And the aptitude and the skill of the students that we've worked with has been incredible. So, we're going to be participating again this year with or later this year with the Northland CAPS with their with a mentorship program where we're going to try to bring some of the students in and get experience working in an internet startup. And hopefully that's going to inspire those students to go on and pursue a career in STEM. So.
Has been live now for a little while. I'd be interested in hearing what some of the top applications that are being built using Big Bang.
Sure. I can't maybe give you really specifics yet because a lot of the applications are under development. But for example, we've had interest in folks that want to create real-time, let's say, collaborative chat experiences that they can plug into to other websites. So for example, if you kind of think about the comments section that might appear on a variety of websites, you go to CNN or you go to any sort of website and you see that. We have some folks that are interested in doing that, but they've tried to do it themselves and they realize that they don't have maybe the technical skills to create a system that could serve, let's say, 100,000 concurrent users. So they're looking to us for the back end and the simplicity of creating those types of applications. We have a customer that we're working with that's creating a health and fitness application, and they want to incorporate, they've been very successful, but they want to push the envelope and incorporate more real-time data along with their application. This is like high bandwidth, low latency data, and they want to incorporate other sensor information about these folks. And there's also been, I guess in the same vein, some medical applications where we're looking at doing the same types of things, being able to get live sensor information to a physician, for example, and use that with our platform. So it's just a few examples.
The Internet of Things is a big space.
Yes.
Are you looking at focusing on any specific vertical segments to start with? That would be a recommendation I would make if we were sitting down to say, go after some specific niche markets quicker to build out scale.
Right.
Are there ones in particular? What's your buyer look like, I guess, from a persona perspective? A software developer is a broad category as well, so.
Sure. Right now, we've been looking at, I would say, we've still been looking at maybe agencies that are still working with mobile applications because that's sort of the most mature of those spaces, and looking on how we can help them incorporate other sensors and other data that might be ancillary to mobile devices, because there's still a lot of interest around that. The sort of wilder frontier of drones and smart toasters and things like that is still, it hasn't quite arrived. So I would say that's what we're focusing on, but I would love to talk to you. I'd love to hear what your ideas might be about that. And obviously, we need partners for certain types of these applications, because there are lots of connected devices now that there's a great challenge in getting the connectivity to them. And so I see that there's a lot of areas where we could work with folks that can provide wireless access and technology to cover that last sort of mile.
So you explained big data as a solution for sharing data across devices. Does Big Bang. Does Big Bang also gather data?
We really are concentrating on making it possible to receive the data and allowing the devices to connect to each other. We don't currently actually store the data, but we make it possible for you to hook in your own data source so that you could then do any sort of analytics that you want. We kind of see that as possibly not necessarily a separate problem, but a problem that maybe we can't easily provide a one-size-fits-all solution. I think that there's some people that want real-time applications and they want immediacy, and the amount of data they might be sharing is actually very small. So if you think of an application that everyone's here has probably used, like Google Docs, everyone has used Google Docs, you can collaborate together, but the amount of information is pretty small, and so that might need one kind of storage solution, but then you might have a sensor network where you're gathering information. Each sensor is sending out an event every 30th of a second. And so then you could have billions of data points very quickly. And how do you track and store billions of data points and make sense of it? And so I think that those types of systems might have a lot of differences in terms of the storage. So we're kind of open to the idea, or allowing for the idea that different applications might have different storage requirements.
It would seem to me that based on what you're doing, coupled with the fact that Kansas City is the first fiber city in America, that there would be a lot of very large manufacturers, obviously, and software companies. Obviously, Cisco announced. Are you seeing any other large companies sort of sniffing around Kansas City, looking at this as kind of a sandbox and looking at your type of system to deploy?
I think it may be. I think that there's probably a lot of interest. I know that automation, for example, industrial automation is a huge thing. And if you look at the gigabots, like, those seem like toys, but really all the principles that you're using there would apply they're very similar to what you might do for an industrial automation situation. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for that, maybe in this city. I don't know that I've seen a lot of them yet, but I think it's possible.
Question here in the center.
Yes.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, actually. But I'll start with, do you have a plan around dealing with aggregation of the information from these devices? So your service can handle millions per second requests.
Sure.
My service can't, right? I'm using your service, and if I'm getting information from a sensor at, I don't know, hundreds of messages per second,
Right.
I might not be able to handle that.
Right.
Does your plan deal with anything about map reduce or aggregation of data?
Yes. Yes. So I don't know, I guess everybody heard the question. It was about handling this sort of torrent of data. So yes, the answer is that I guess one of the other differentiators for our service is that in addition to being able to execute, sort of have all of these clients that are connected, you'll be able to have code that you can run on the server side, or basically that runs in our network that can allow you to filter and aggregate that information. But it may be the case that you may want to take that information and dump it directly to some sort of data store, or like you mentioned, you might want to perform map reduce and aggregate that data as it's coming in, and that's a big problem, and kind of like I mentioned previously, that different applications might need to deal with that in different ways. So we're definitely open to that, and I think we'll need to work out some of those issues, though, as we work with some of our beta applications too. So yes, I agree.
Thank you. One more question. What kind of price would I be expected to pay as a developer to use your service?
Sure. So we price it based on the number of sort of connected or concurrent users. So a small application that maybe has 100 concurrent users, you're paying $49 a month or something like that. As you scale up, you might be paying $149 or $299 a month, depending on the sort of number of concurrent users. We have some customers that are looking at very, very large numbers of connected users, 25,000 to 100,000, 200,000 connected users. And so for them, we have some sort of enterprise or different pricing, because they also have some custom authentication needs and things like that. But we can handle the range of those.
Jonathan, I got a question to your left over here, to the left.
Yes.
So I'm also working on a startup that is a developer platform.
Okay.
And I'm kind of curious to hear your tales of the process of trying to attract developers, because so far we've found that's one of the more difficult things to do. You can get people to come in the door reasonably easily, but the conversion process of getting them to actually start paying for something is proving a bit of a challenge, and I'd like to hear your opinions on what's worked for you.
Sure. So we've tried to do a fairly structured approach to this that involves identifying developers that have a specific problem. So I think Kevin over here said developers are a really broad category of people. Who are you looking at? So we've done a lot of work trying to identify very specific developers that have very specific problems. And in the beginning, that's really involved calling lots and lots of developers and talking to them and basically interviewing them. And I would say, for me personally, one of the most interesting interesting parts of that process was the fact that you could call a random software developer, and if you can finally get a hold of them, which is very difficult, because lots of times you can't find their phone number and things like that. And if you find somebody that actually has that problem, they'll talk to you on the phone for like an hour, right? I mean, you know, you won't be able to get them to stop talking about the problem. And so when you find that, you realize that that's a developer that has the problem. So we've done a lot of work trying to identify certain types of developers that we feel are a fit for our product, that they've tried to create real-time applications and they've struggled, or they tried to create real-time applications and they spent hundreds and hundreds of hours trying to get something to work, and it kind of worked, but it was very difficult to debug, for example. And so once we've identified those developers and we ask them, you know, would you like to try our platform? Then once you get the right person, it's very easy to get them to say, yes, I'll try it, because the pain is so great on their part that they're willing to do it. So.
Question here in the center.
You gave the example of a pricing model. Is it not dependent on volume of data? Is it just connections? And the second part to this question is, with the toolkits you make available, do they cost?
Okay, no, the toolkits are free of charge. They're actually very liberally licensed. They use a BSD license, or MIT license, I believe, if you take a look. But what we're really trying to encourage is the users to use the platform. And so the pricing really kind of has, it's kind of has built-in assumptions about the sort of maximum amount of data that you might be able to use. So if you look at one of our models, let's say you have a, you know, just the smallest pricing plan, it's kind of provisioned for sort of a worst case scenario where each individual client might be sending something like 30 or 60 requests a second. And that's actually a tremendous volume of data, even with, you know, that small of a number of clients. So that's kind of how we look at it. We're not really trying to charge per byte or per message, because we don't feel that that's really the way to handle real-time applications. It's sort of built in the idea is that you're going to use lots and lots of little messages. So we don't really charge that way now. It's more
Jonathan, we're going to need to wrap it up, but before I let you go, what can we as a community do for Big Bang?
Well, I think that what I would like is for you to come to me and say, I have this problem, or I have this idea, and is there any way that you know we could help you turn it into a reality? So maybe you've been struggling with a problem, or that you had an idea about something for, you know, you wanted to add something to your website, or you wanted to add something, or you wanted to create a mobile application. You see the uses of real-time technology, but you don't know where to get started. I would say, let's see if I could help make that happen for you.
Okay, great. Jonathan's going to be presenting in the Kaufman Labs after this, so he's not going to be in here right after. So if you want to connect with Jonathan, please. You just took the email address off, but I've got it on the announcement sheet. Sorry about that. So I would invite you to send him an email, and hopefully you guys can connect soon. How many developers are here in the audience that find this relevant and want to follow up? That's excellent. That's great to hear. Okay, Jonathan, good luck. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck next door. Okay, I've got a few announcements for you. Who here is on Facebook? Nobody. Okay. We have, the Kansas City 1 Million Cups has a Facebook page. We have an event. We're doing an event each week, which we'd like you to join the event. And this event space that you join can actually kind of be a place for people to connect and talk in a digital world before or after the event. So I would invite you to like our Facebook page and to join our event each week. We announce that each week through Twitter and through Facebook. So we'd like to continue. Stall? Okay. Funny thing happened on the way to 1 Million Cups this morning. Okay, so that's about the Facebook page. So we would like really to engage people there. A good example of how to be engaged on that is you might be looking for some help with something in your business, and you could put it out there on our event page, or if you're looking for an opportunity to post that on the event page as well, okay? So I definitely invite you to do that. We do have some announcements this week. Hopefully you grabbed one of our announcement sheets in the back. If you didn't grab one, they're on a table by one of the pillars back there. So I invite you to grab that. We're going to be on the news today. That's the first announcement. That's going to be exciting. And we've got a crowdfunding meetup tomorrow at the ECJC. That's the Enterprise Center of Johnson County. That's over off of, let's see, it's Blue Jacket in Overland Park. That's a meetup group that I started about a year ago. And every week we bring in a few people who are working on a crowdfunding project. They kind of want to test the water, share some ideas with the group. And we've got a nice group going there. And we used to host it over at the Sprint Accelerator down in the Crossroads, and then we moved it over to Johnson County to kind of change up the location. But hopefully we'll make it back down to the Crossroads. The bars for after hours are more convenient at that point. So we appreciate Sprint for helping us do that last year. So if you're interested in crowdfunding, please look us up on the meetup.com website. Also, the Athena League, anybody involved in the Athena League or been to one of their events before? Great. So they've been running for over a year, I believe, and they've got a interesting event happening tomorrow as well. And that's at 5:30 at the, where's it located? It's not on here. Oh, it's at the Vox, excuse me. It says it right there. That's a theater kind of near Southwest Boulevard, kind of between Merriam and downtown. Interesting area. And the Lean Lab is hosting something interesting. Can I ask Alex to talk a little bit about that? What's that? Okay. So this weekend, a week and a half away, the Lean Lab is hosting the first Startup Weekend EDU in Kansas City. And I think that's pretty exciting. They're working hard to help create innovation for teachers. Teachers and students. So I hope that's going to be a big event for you guys and do it every year. That's exciting. I wish I could make it. I'm going to be missing that. So also, I don't know if you guys know this. What? One more? Today is National Hot Pastrami Sandwich Day and National Dress Up Your Dog Day. So if you want to dress your dog up like a hot pastrami sandwich, more power to you. All right, we're ready for our next presentation. I'd like to introduce Matthew Dolly with Air Filter On Demand.
Good morning. I want to say thank you very much for everybody's time. We truly appreciate it. We put a lot of hard work into this. To get us started off, I want to introduce you to John Reed. John Reed and his wife, Patricia, 5 years ago, wanted to build their dream home. They contacted a general contractor who had great credentials, pulled them in, and built out their house. Ended up moving in. Unfortunately, the contractor didn't meet up to his credentials and ended up leaving gaps within the roof along with the window seals, ultimately causing their entire first floor to mold. And you can see it here. It's terrible. Ended up spending roughly $10,000 in renovations to repair all the damage that occurred from the mold damage, hoping that everything was fixed. After for the renovations, John's son Andy started showing asthma, which he had in the past, but hadn't popped up in the last 8 years. On top of it, Andy started having seizures, and he's never had them in his life before. Sadly, that ended up Andy in the ER several times. Not just that, John's wife, Patricia, her eyes were so swollen that it looked like a swarm of bees have just stung her in the eyes. You can see it right here. This is the before and after. They went through several doctor visits, and not a single answer was given to them. It was a really frustrating situation for him. Not just that, here recently kicked, and John turned on his furnace and realized that his furnace wasn't adequately heating their home so that it could bring down the temperature quick enough. So he contacted our heating and cooling company. I went out there personally. I started, and I realized that right here, there was a vector going on, and the system was working properly. I had a pretty darn good idea of what it was that was going on. And so I just asked a question, and I asked John, how often do you change your filter? And like every other client we have, John said it, I try to change it as often as I can, or as often as I remember. So I ended up pulling out, and I realized that it hadn't been changed probably within that whole 5 years. Not just that, John was having mold on his filter. That told me that mold was probably within the system. So I went ahead and investigated further. When I looked into it, mold had taken over his entire system along with the ductwork. So what was going on, he was blowing the mold from his system into the house, just as air particles, which ultimately causing everything that's in this blue boxes here. He could have eliminated if he was changing his filter regularly. I ended up getting him situated. I'll tell you a happy story at the end here. My name is Matt Arankadivi, and I'm proud to represent airfilterondemand.com. And my colleague?
And I'm Matt Dolly, and I'm co-founder. And never forget to change your air filter again.
Who are we? Airfilterondemand.com is a subscription platform that mails out our clients custom-sized filters to their home or business across the nation every 1, 2, or 3 months to help remind them to change their filter and ultimately save them money. No more hassle of driving to the store, remembering your air filter size and MERV rating, hoping to have your unique air filter in stock, or like most people, similar to John Reed, just becoming simply too busy to remember to change out your filter. Our team's composed of Mo Arankadivi, my father. He's the co-founder of airfilterondemand.com. He has his master mechanical in the heating and cooling industry for 36 years and has owned Mo's Heating and Cooling for the last 21 years. Matt Dolly, he's the CEO, COO, and co-founder of airfilterondemand.com, and he's VP of Operations for Mo's Heating and Cooling and Plumbing. Beta Blocks, Kansas City's top business incubator and accelerator, they're also our investor. And I'm Matt Arankadivi. I've been in the heating and cooling industry my entire life since I was in diapers. I'm 30 years in March, kind of gives you a frame of reference where I was at. I'm the CEO of airfilterondemand.com, been working for Mo's Heating and Cooling directly for the last 15 years, now VP. So I want to point this out. If you look at your entire consumption for the year, 50% of that is directly from your heating and cooling system alone. Gov says replacing a dirty clogged air filter with a clean one regularly will allow your HVAC's energy consumption, will lower your HVAC's energy consumption by 15%. I want you to take this equation here. This one right here says air filter energy savings. If you take your total annual electricity bill, multiply that times 50%, and then take that number times 15%, that will tell you how much you'll save by changing your filter regularly. For my household, my annual electricity savings is roughly $130 a year. I would spend that. More importantly, I guarantee that my HVAC investment is going to last me the full life of 20 years because I'm changing the filter properly, regularly, and making sure that system is maintained. If you don't, you'll see deficiencies within roughly 10 to 13 years, and most likely call me again. So either way. This is Patricia Reed from earlier. She's the one with the swollen eyes. This is John's wife. She says, we were about to sell our house because we could not breathe in our home. It never crossed our minds that mold could have spread into the ductwork. Thanks to airfilterondemand.com, my family and I have had our first good night of sleep in the last 7 months. My son's seizures have stopped, and my sinuses and puffy eyes have disappeared. We can't thank you guys enough. And our ask is for you to give us a trial. I'd like the first filter to be on us. Sign up. Use the promo code 1MillionCups. Give us a trial. You don't have any contracts. So if you ever felt like it wasn't appropriate, no problem. Not just that, I'd really appreciate it if you could step out and contact all your friends, colleagues, and let them know there is a solution now out there that provides ways to take care of your HVAC investment, ensure that your family's health is okay, and reduce your electricity consumption. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions.
Matt. Hey, Matt, got a question for you over here. Love the idea. Glad you threw out the promo code, probably become a customer. But I have a question for you. What's your marketing and sales strategy? How do you get the word out beyond just word of mouth and viral?
Yes, sir. So
very familiar with the heating and cooling industry. So from my end at least, and that's where I went because I see that as the lowest barrier of entry. From the heating and cooling perspective, most clients buy most of their equipment already from their heating and cooling vendor here locally. So what I've done initially, I've already signed up Moe's Heating and Cooling, our company, to be a reseller. I've also signed up 3 other heating and cooling companies out here locally to provide this service. I had a few pushbacks because some heating and cooling companies see this as a way to cut their own throats because they see that there's more value in the 10 to 13 years of your heating and cooling system failing than taking care of their client to preserve the life of it. So that's all, it depends on the type of personality there. On top of it, SEO has been huge. I'm working with Sutherland's directly, we're very close with them, to sell in their store locations. On top of it, maintain all their facilities. So I'm looking at the commercial route and a residential route. I've also contacted Costco. We're in discussions right now, along with Nest Labs, the Nest thermostat. Today their thermostat reminds you that you need to change out your filter, but does not do anything past that. So I'm working with them in terms of going ahead and automating that so that we can go ahead and just send it off once the algorithm notices that the system runtime isn't adequately heating up the house quick enough. So those are the type of angles I've been approaching it as. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Any thought, so Sutherland's and some of those distributors like that, any thought about Home Depots, the Lowe's of the world as well?
Yeah, I looked at them. I even did a price analysis. And, Home Depot and Lowe's today, they don't even provide quality filters, if you will. The heating and cooling companies like to use pleated filters with a higher MERV rating. The ones you go in through, Home Depot and Lowe's, they are similar to a hog filter. It really doesn't filter much of the allergens or the mold that will go through your air. So that's a great point, and I'm looking into it still. I'm juggling with it, and their price ranges are so crazy. When I did our price analysis, on our 1-inch thick filter, we're amazingly competitive. But when you look at our 2 through 10-inch filters, thickness is what I'm talking about, we blow everybody out of the water. So now I'm starting to try to justify if I should go towards that direction, but I'm not going to fight it if that's an opportunity.
So you definitely explained a problem that and offered a convenient, easy solution. But with this subscription model, can you talk a little more about your customer retention plans and how you continue to deliver value? Because most of the subscriptions I end up signing up for end up being a burden more than a convenience, and one more thing that I have to cancel.
Yes, sir. So I think one thing is just, it's pretty much flat out obvious. Once you receive your filter and you go downstairs and you realize that your filter looks like this when you pull it out, I mean, it will during wintertime. It's going to look not this bad, but pretty darn close. I mean, it's kind of relevant at that point, in my opinion. Retention right now, I have not had any attrition. Nobody has left. So, and we're doubling each month. Now, I've been alive 6 months. I get it. We will have attrition in time. But as of today, everybody I talk to is very happy with what we're providing. So.
2 quick questions. The first is, you've got energy savings here. Do you have savings relative to if I go to Home Depot every 3 months?
So I would like to get your card after this. I should have put that in the slide deck with 6 minutes. I didn't have time to. But I can show you an assessment that shows our prices from all sizes. Really what happens is if you look at our scale, I did a magic quadrant, but with the variation of sizes, 1,000 sizes, 1,000 MERV ratings along those lines, it made it difficult. But what it is shows that price versus value. Our price starts roughly $14, maxes out at $34, and that's any custom size. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Amazon.com, and I ask you to do this and compare our largest size to them, okay? You will see that they're going to try to charge you roughly $50 to $80 for a filter that I can provide you for $34, and mine, hands down, is much higher quality.
Okay. My next question, this may be perhaps you've already thought about this, but a way to close people. When I look at that filter on the bottom, and you are talking about selling a subscription service, my first thought was, when you send out a new filter, how cool would it be if I could send you my old one and you could do an analysis on it?
Yeah, and see what kind of things are in there.
See what's in there.
That's interesting.
And then perhaps on an annual basis, once a year, do that. But the second is, maybe that's a way you think about closing that first one. You'll just do a free analysis, because if I've got black mold, my kids have allergies, I want to know that.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Sorry, we'd like to open it up to the audience today. I know we have one question back here. Okay, question in the center.
Yeah, great presentation. How much? I'm ready to sign up.
All right, excellent. And it all depends. There are so many sizes. It's all embedded within the website. You just log in. You pick your quality, depending on your pets, your allergens, what your issues are. It's good, better, best, so you start from there. Then you put your sizes in. It'll populate your price. But again, depending on thickness, we're talking between $14 to $34. Every 1, 2, or 3 months. I recommend every 1 inch thickness of your filter to change it out every month. Every 2-inch thickness of your filter, I recommend to change it every 2 months. 3 through 10-inch thickness, you gotta change it every 3 months. Don't go further than that. You're hurting your family, you're hurting your investment. Just make sure to stick with 90 days. And that's why I went ahead and made sure that the website was stuck that way. But that's the price range.
Got a question here in the back.
Yes, sir.
So you're shipping this stuff out, on whatever recurring order we have. How much is your shipping cost and how are you shipping it? Like what's your average shipping cost?
Yes, sir. So we talked to the United States Postal Service. We have a contract in place today, and we bake that price within our bundled price. So what you see online, you won't pay any additional shipping prices with it. And we're still competing with everybody else. We're still blowing everybody out of the water. So, and we can send through all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii, no problem, same price. We cover the entire U.S., so.
Question here on your left.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of a follow-up to that, I'm thinking about scalability. You're in a service business. Clearly as you grow, customer service burden is going to be greater. You're going to need customer service staff to handle individual customer needs. Really, just this concierge service to each and every individual customer, making them feel valued and important and like they're the only people that you deal with. Then you've got fulfillment, you've got warehousing, stocking all these different filters. There's going to be some capital that's involved in that. Does your future projection and your revenue model take into account just that overhead burden that's going to be necessary, and are you still profitable 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Yes, I am calculating every sale down to the penny, and I can forecast for the next 3 years. I'm guaranteeing we're making profit right now, and we're going to be huge in the future is my plan.
Got another question for you in the back.
Yes, sir.
So as a potential customer of yours, what I'm curious about is, you kind of lost me when you started saying, okay, so filters range from $15 all the way up to $34, and every different size in between is a different price. Have you considered the option of simplifying and categorizing, say, this section of filters costs $15 a month, this price point is $25, and this is $34, to where it's really simple for you to say, every filter falls into a category. Our price points are $15, $25, $34 to kind of simplify?
I looked into it, and it wouldn't do justice to our clients to do that. The reason is because the huge variation on what we have to pay for the filters, just along the lines. That's why I had to go filter by filter and give a generic price range that we can provide. But I did try to think about that. So when we were building out the website, we went good, better, best. And that's the first direction. And there's a ledger at the bottom that explains why should you go good, better, best. And that does affect the price to a small degree. But there's just so much variation that it makes it too difficult to go that route and actually do justice to our clients.
Question your right.
Yes, ma'am.
In your discussion of the house with the mold,
yep,
you indicated there was mold distributed throughout the ductwork.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't talk about cleaning of the ductwork system, particularly downstream of the filter. Secondly, do you ever recommend upgrading from the ability to handle a 1-inch filter to maybe increasing that to a 2 or 3-inch filter?
Okay, so to get to that question, the second one first, that's personal preference. Do you like to change it every month, or would you like to change it every 2 months or every 3 months? That's up to the client. You're not getting much better filtration. In my eyes, I like to change it every 30 days because I have pets and I have kids, and I want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. After 1 month, especially during heavy use during wintertime or summertime, you're going to be seeing that filter get thick. I'm sorry, though. I forgot your first half of that question. Can you please rephrase that or say that again?
On the house with the mold,
yes, sir.
You didn't talk about cleaning the ductwork.
Okay. So that was me. Yeah, I ended up having to rip out everything for him. There was no way I could leave that mold in there. and make sure that this family is taken care of. So what I did, I ripped out the entire ductwork or I kept the system, but all the ductwork that was providing the return air and the supply to the house, I took it out and put in new. That's the only way I could make sure that this was going to take care of. And then I went through and thoroughly cleaned out the heating and cooling system.
And that's our Mo's heating and air conditioning side. We did all that. The air filter, we changed their air filters, but our Mo's heating and air conditioning side, we were the ones that changed out all their ductwork. We changed out their entire ductwork, and they were totally satisfied. We had to also change out their entire system as well.
Another question here on your right.
First of all, I'm not sure if my husband will let me come here anymore because I always come home needing something. But my first thought here is, have you ever thought about talking with home builders? My husband is actually in home building, and that is one of the things that we struggled with because we built a home, and the air filter was the very last thing we even considered. But with all of the construction and the dust and everything that goes into a new house, that filter needed to be changed quite frequently in the beginning, and we didn't even think about it. And then beyond that, it's one of those things you don't think about. So that might be a good way to go.
Were you living in the house when the renovations were going on?
No,
Okay.
afterwards.
But the furnace and AC was running during that
Oh,
renovation?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, that's a great point. I haven't targeted as much because usually the home builders are a little bit disconnected from the actual purchaser of the home. So I was trying to figure out who is the front line that's involved with the clients. But that's a great feedback. Yeah, actually, I should think about that. Thank you.
We got a question to your left in the back.
Matt, good presentation. I have two questions. One's a technical question. How does this replaceable cartridge technology compare to electrostatic?
Okay.
And do you ever do electrostatic? And then my other question is about your marketing. How are you getting the word out?
Yes, sir. So electrostatic doesn't even compare when it comes to actual filters. Those do help to some degree, but when you're talking about actually capturing all the particles within your house's air, you got to use an actual filter, and it's based on MERV rating. So the higher the MERV rating, the smaller the holes, the smaller the particles that can flow through your system. I hope I answered that one okay for you. But when it comes down to marketing, so getting very tactical. I mean, Million Cups is obviously a big thing. We're getting very strong within the SEO market, Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, pretty much anything we can imagine. Really, the biggest heavy hitter for us so far has been the heating and cooling companies as of today. So they're doing most of the front leg work. They're already in the client's house, and they're helping educate them on how they can preserve the life of their unit.
Question here on your right.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just imagining if I were signing up for this, I'd have to go down to the basement and find the filter and look at the thing and see what the numbers are and write it down and then go back up to my computer. Is there any way to ease the friction of that by, say, allowing someone to just take a picture of it on their phone and send it to you, and then you Mechanical Turk that out to someone, or do some kind of image recognition? Because that would be great.
It's already bundled in. So if you have any questions, you don't know how to do it, you just send us an email. I've had several clients through Google advertising that came through us, didn't directly order, but sent us an email. And then I just followed right back up, and then we went ahead and provided it for them. So yeah, good point. To people that are outside the heating and cooling industry, to some at least, this is foreign. It's kind of complicated in the sense that they just don't know really what to look for. So. Yeah.
We've got a few more questions. I'd like to try to get them in up front.
Two distribution-related questions. You mentioned some complications with HVAC servicing companies wanting to protect their servicing business. Have you ever thought about property managers that might want to protect their HVAC systems investments? And also, I just realized that my car has an in-cabin filter, which I had no idea about. But have you ever thought about going to automakers?
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely looking into other brands or products that will be rolled into our brand, which will be called Homeowner On Demand once we get there. But we felt like this was most relevant, most impactful for your house today. Let's start here, lowest barrier of entry, and then we go ahead and start adding other to it. So.
Okay, we got one more in the middle.
Yeah, really, really good idea.
Thank you.
Excellent idea. I think no one changes their filters.
Nobody
on
does.
time. No one does. I think there's a market that I'm personally connected to. My son has leukemia, and we're getting our ductwork cleaned, and we're changing the filter system and trying to put in HVAC or some HEPA filters inside the house. So there's a lot of organizations that are helping cancer victims. There's a really big market there. People are trying to do something in their houses, but they don't really know what to do. And if you could help out on that end of it, it would really be useful.
First off, I'm very sorry to hear that, and I hope everything goes well for your son. But thank you for that feedback. I never even considered that, but I'd like to talk with you afterwards if you wouldn't mind, so we can dig into that a little bit further.
Okay, question here in the middle.
Okay, one quick question is, in the, regarding the subscription service, in the spring and fall, the system's hardly ever run. I noticed you have it set up for either monthly or 2 months or every 3 months. Can you change your, within the year, so like in the spring and fall, you can say, I don't want one for 2 months or 3 months, and then go back to the regular replacement in the summer and winter?
So today, it's a bit manual to do that. It's no problem. If you want us to adjust it, absolutely. That's easy for us to do. But in your sense, it's a little bit manual as of today. What we're trying to do, next step, is to allow the client to predetermine their month. We tried going down that route initially, and the clients that signed up and did that ended up waiting middle of, I'm going to say, nice weather season, if you will. And then halfway through, they ended up flipping on. They're like, wow, I need this right now. So we just accelerated it. We moved it up about 4 months. So I'm seeing people want to do that, and then we go that route, and then all of a sudden they're like, I want my filter right now. So, but yeah, I'm going to add that functionality into the website here soon.
Great. Matt, we got a question.
Yes, sir.
Right in front.
Good morning.
Morning.
Market, allergy doctors, vets, and Petcos.
Great point.
Going to the source and backing in.
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely should be thinking of that. Because when you look at the...
And to allergists that say get a white room, take everything down.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a step before that.
Yeah, I should consider, even when you go on our website and you select good, better, best, it dictates, why should you go this route versus good, better, or best. And it's like, if it's just mild allergies, go with this one. One pet, go with this one. 2 pets, go with this one. So yeah, great point. Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely going to consider that.
Okay, so last question. What can we as a community do to help you?
Yes. So honestly, if you have a home, I love it. Just give me a shot. Come onto our website. Give me one try. I'll take care of you on your first filter. If you love it, you hate it. If you love it, stay. If you hate it or just didn't feel like it was right for you, go ahead and sign off. That's no problem. Won't hurt my feelings anyway. We're still friends. Not just that, I'd love it. I'd love it if you could just go out and contact everybody you know. Just let them know that there's a solution out there that's going to take care of their family, going to take care of their HVAC investment, along with reducing their electricity bill. That's really what I could ask for.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
I would encourage you guys to take advantage of the Passport program so you can go to the other cities in the Midwest.
Can you say that one more time?
To sign up for the Passport program.
Okay.
So that's where you can apply to other cities. Lawrence, St. Joe, Columbia, Springfield, St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a great story. Okay,
great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do have something happening in this room pretty quick. So we've got about 15 minutes we can kind of hang out if you're staying after to chit chat. So please be aware of that. Thank you so much for coming today. Once again, please look us up on Facebook. Join our event each week if you can make it, and share 1 Million Cups with your friends. Have a good week.